Yes, Android 16 is coming earlier than expected. In fact, you can even download the first developer preview right now. But as interesting as this fast track really is, especially given the delays we had for Android 15, that's not actually the most important part of this entire situation. Today, I want to talk about what is. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and I'm a massive proponent of holding onto your tech for longer. I hate the idea of just upgrading something for the sake of upgrading, and not for a purpose or a reason. Up until now, I've been pretty positive about the Google Pixel's lineup, as it's had some solid software update support ever since it came out with the first generation Pixel. And when the company announced that the latter Pixels would get 5, 6, even 7 years of updates, that really intrigues me because phones aren't cheap these days, even the A-series phones. While more affordable than the Pro models, they're definitely not throwaway items either, and so Google has earned my respect for providing these devices with more longevity. The Android 16 update is interesting because it's starting to prove that the company is committing to its promises and delivering on them instead of just saying that it would and not making good on them. The Pixel 6 and 6 Pro are getting Android 16 Developer Preview 1, and that means that despite Android 15 being the on paper final major upgrade, it looks like Google is doing one better and giving the 6 Pro Android 16. Of course, the 16 Dev Preview is far from the full release, which is slated to come out in spring of next year, but it's a very positive start. It's a curious case because the Pixel 6 Pro, the company's first generation of Google Silicon, and the move to a premium model device, was also quite controversial. It launched with Android 12, and those who remember that launch will recall just how buggy, unresponsive, and straight up calamitous that software-hardware combo was. From connectivity issues to hard crashing to UI elements not appearing where they should, it was just a bit of a cluster truck, and a fair few early adopters who bought the 6 or the 6 Pro at full price and used it on Android 12 felt hard done by, and rightly so. Google potentially delivering Android 16 to the 6 series, a surprising additional version, almost feels like the company is compensating and making up for that absolute dumpster fire that was Android 12, which would be quite a humble thing to do. I'm sure many of the owners of this phone will be pretty happy to see a complimentary update, even if its feature set doesn't seem to be a major departure from Android 15. Because the 6 Pro, while unashamedly experimental and first generation with its quirks and qualities, was and still is a really nice piece of hardware, and a grand step up from what came before it. The tiny bezels, curved sides, in-display fingerprint reader, which to be fair wasn't much of a highlight to be quite honest, the introduction of the bigger sensors and a periscope telephoto for the first time. All of these things were really exciting, and it just so happened that the OS that ran on the device really kind of let it down. This phone still holds up today and feels every bit as premium as it did on launch. I'm one of these seemingly few curved side enjoyers, and I just think this feels fantastic in the hand. It's likely helped by the fact that Google hasn't changed its formula massively in the last 3 generations, meaning that flat sides aside and the new hovering pill design, you can actually still tell that this is part of the Pixel family, the same family of devices. The 6 Pro's performance, connectivity and battery life were all the main concerns and still are to this day, and of course anyone who's used one of these before will tell you that the in-display fingerprint reader is, it's just not great. Like it seems people blew that kind of situation up on social media, but actually no, they were totally correct. This is just straight up bad. It's not a great experience. But the cameras are still wonderful, the display is still fantastic, the feel in the hand is marvellous, and I think that this particular design complements Google's Pixel experience aesthetic the best. I still know a fair few people who use one of these on a regular basis, or rather the normal 6, less so the Pro, and those who have moved on since have kind of gone for the Pixel 8 because they were really cheap on sale at some points, and I actually think that it was a fantastic upgrade from the 6. It seems like those who picked up a 6 series device, having upgraded from, let's say, a Samsung or an iPhone, a different manufacturer, have stuck with Google models because not only of the obvious and often talked about software qualities, but the hardware on offer too, especially the fact that Google still makes a smallish model which is massively appealing to a lot of people. The whole Pixel 6 getting Android 16 situation also adds credence to Google's other long-term software support, like the fact that last year's Pixel 8 will, on paper, still get upgrades until 2030, which is still another 6 years away. That's insane. But also, if the 6 is anything to go by, it looks like Google will hold up their end of the deal and give us that long-term support. There are a few new features in Android 16 DP1. We have a slightly updated and upgraded Health Connect system for connecting to other applications. Notification cooldown has returned from previous builds of Android 15 betas, which is really handy for minimizing distractions. Audio sharing to other compatible devices is now a native feature, and is a very cool and actually interesting feature called Even Dimmer, which will dim your display to below the minimum, which is fantastic for nighttime reading. Not huge additions, and I'm sure many people will never realise that most of those features, if all of them, even exist. Also, being a super early development build, a lot of these, maybe even all of them, might not even make it into the full public version of Android. That's the nature of development betas, and it's what makes them interesting and fun to play about with, if you're so inclined, because you get to test out features that might not ever make the full build. The actual public beta for Android 16 will likely be out next year, which is what I'd recommend waiting for if you absolutely have to try this early beta out. The dev previews are a little more hit and miss, and if I were you, I'd actually just wait until Android 16 fully comes out, because then at least you're giving it a chance of being more stable. As I feel this needs to be said every time I mention a beta, please don't load up a development preview on your work phone or a device that needs to be critically stable. There is every chance that it will crash, it will bug, and that is just what you get for downloading and installing non-final software. You have been warned. I still stand by that video I made a couple of weeks ago where I said that software versions don't really matter anymore. There are going to be more differences between manufacturer skins and SKUs than the underlying versions that are running on them, and it feels like the steps that we're climbing with these new version upgrades are shallower and smaller each time. However, I am a massive fan of the compatibility and security enhancements afforded by long-term support, and the Pixel 6 series getting Android 16 potentially is a massive thumbs up from me. Guys, what do you make of this update, and are you a Pixel 6 series user? I am a big fan of the super long-term software support, as it keeps tech out of landfill and allows us to use our very expensive devices for quite a bit longer before they start to break down. Did you like the Pixel 6 series at launch? Software bugginess aside, I really love this design. I think still to this day, the camera visor along the back is my favourite implementation of any camera design on any smartphone. I want to know your thoughts in the comments though, because I know this is quite a divisive opinion. Whilst you're down there, please do hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Cheers.